Hey guys, welcome to Beers with the Beard. This is my YouTube channel that I set up for doing this stuff, and so I'm doing the live Q&A here. And as is tradition, I've got my beer. Somebody, when I was doing the Facebook Live last week, or maybe it was the week before, commented that I should have a giant Viking mug with horns and things. So I grabbed one of my various beer steins. This one is from Oldenburg, and so I'll be drinking out of that tonight. So thank you for joining me, everybody. You may notice that I've got a new mic. This just came in today. This is the new PreSonus PX1. So hopefully it sounds pretty good. Should sound a lot better than the previous mic I was using. Haven't had time to really dial in all the EQ and things like that, but maybe I'll have some time to do that later. Been pretty busy trying to keep up with everything at the office, from the home office, and do all the stuff that needs to happen, and all the funness of everything as it is. So thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate it. While you're here, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I'm going to continue doing some of these live Q&As, and I'm also going to be posting some videos. If you haven't seen already, I have posted my first video. It is all about setting up AVB on your Mac computer and how to set that up and set up your Mac computer as an AVB endpoint. And I'm going to continue doing videos like that, covering a variety of different topics. A lot of them probably AVB and networking based because I'm a nerd. But anyway, so let's see who we got here. We got Dale. Hey there, Dale. Hey, Truckee. Thanks for joining us. We got Live Track 100. Hey there. Hey, Scott. All right. Or Peter Scott. Yes, from Australia. All right, man. Glad you're able to make it on. Caught in traffic. I had technical difficulties. Whoops. Meaning that when I was setting up my camera, which is phone, on the tripod, it went, the tripod just kept falling over. I was having trouble with it, so I had to tighten down a few things and had some difficulty with that. But we're all good now. We should be solid. So anyway, good day, everyone. All right. Hey there, Jay from Colorado. Great to see you. Oh, Paradigm Studios. Oh, that's TJ. Hey, TJ. All right. Excellent. Cool. Well, this is this is new for me. I've done a few live streams on Facebook. This is my first time doing a live stream on YouTube. I'm still using my OBS setup. At least for now, it seems to be working well for me. As each time I do it, I tweak a little bit more and learn a little bit more, and so that's been working well. I will probably, during one of these videos I do, give a rundown of the setup that I'm using. I use I've got a couple different iPhones that I use for cameras, because the camera in your iPhone is actually a lot better than the camera is built into like your webcam display and things like that. So I've been using that as the camera. I've been using my Studio Live 16R as an audio interface. And then, just setting up OBS and learning it. So one of the things I'm going to be doing also is I'm going to do some out of boxes when I get some new gear and stuff. So today I got the new PreSonus PX1. This is the PreSonus large diaphragm condenser microphone. It's right here. So I just got that in this afternoon. So I set that up. I actually got two of them because I'm going to set up the other one over there at my other station where I've got an overhead over the mixer. And so I'll set the other one up over there. But so I'll do a little out of box. It's pretty simple. But I figured, hey, what the heck? Why not? So it's still bouncing though. It's still bouncing. Maybe you know what it is? Anytime I hit my desk, the camera bounces. I'll have to figure a way of isolating my camera tripod from the desk. Or just keep my hands off the desk so I don't keep hitting it. All right. So does anybody have some questions? Hit me up with some questions. The whole idea here is we do some questions, do some Q&A, some AMA. Let's see. In the meantime, I can talk about my day. we do this thing at the office called the Bowling Stone Review. Basically, there's a group of us that get together, and we pick out an album each week, and we all listen to everybody's albums. And then at the end of the week, we rate them and we give comments and discuss them and things like that. So we did that today. We do that every Friday. It's a pretty fun thing that we do. There were some really cool albums this week. There's an album from a band called the Avalanches. They were pretty good. I had not heard of them before. That was a pretty good album. There's a Ryan Adams album this week. That was pretty cool. I sincerely regret my album choice. I had not heard of it before, and so I took a chance and chose the Metallica and Lou Reed album. Didn't know that they had done an album together. Wish I hadn't known they did an album together. It's called Lulu, but it was an epic fail. So anyway, I see a couple of questions starting to come through. What's your recommendation for adding outboard gear with or without Studio One? Pipeline XT. Yeah, so let me wet my whistle. Let's see. And then I had one that was too long just above, if you can see it. Yeah, it looks like message retracted, it said. So I don't know. That's all I see is message retracted, it looks like. Oh no. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I have to resubmit that question again. Are you using UC or Studio One to mix your live stream audio? I'm using UC. I haven't really done much on it right now since I set up this new mic, other than just get my gain level set up and do some light compression and a high pass filter. So I haven't really done much other than that right now. So my recommendation on adding outboard gear. So Studio One has this great plugin called Pipeline XT, and it allows you to plug in outboard gear. The way it works is it routes audio out through one of the outputs of your interface, and then you choose an input to come back in from the input of your interface. It's pretty cool. What I really like about Pipeline is that you can actually set the delay time depending on what your buffers are and what your converters are. You can make sure everything's time aligned and time align that track along with everything else by using that. You can also take a picture of your outboard gear with all of its settings and save it in the plugin. So when you go and recall that session, you can always take a look at what your settings were on that plugin also. With other DAWs, you got to be a little bit more careful. There are ways to do it. To be honest, it's been a long time since I've used anything other than Studio One, so I'm not sure if there's maybe some new features in some of the stuff, some of the other DAWs out there that allow you to do it. But yeah, the main thing is just be careful about how you manage the latency. When using outboard gear, I would highly recommend checking out the PreSonus Quantum 4848. It is a 48 in, 48 out Thunderbolt interface. So it has super low latency. Depending on your sampling rate and the speed of your computer, you can actually get sub 1 millisecond latencies on it. And the converters are absolutely stellar. It's all line inputs and outputs, so it's perfect for plugging in outboard gear and outboard mic preamps and stuff. So I check that out. That's my recommendation for that. All right. Would you run through a Series 3 setup with 2 console mixers and NSB stage box in regard to internal and network clock and routing local inputs on each console? Yes, that is something I can do. I'm not set up to do that right now. Today's video, I just plan on doing Q&A. I can talk you through it, but to be honest, it's going to be best to really show how all that works. I do have the 64S, and what are you saying with 2 console mixers? I don't have a second console mixer here. I could probably grab another one from the office at some point, so I could do that. But the reality is it's the same whether it's a rack mixer or a console mixer. So I do have an NSB stage box here, so I could set all that stuff up and show you guys how some of that would work. So I will make a note of that and do a video on that for you guys. The main thing that you want to be careful of when you're doing that is you want to make sure clock is set up right. We're actually working on some stuff right now for a future release where we're going to make some changes in the way that we handle clock on the AVB network. We're actually going to be implementing a dedicated media clock stream as well as some auto media clock management, so you won't have to worry about it in the future. But for right now, you have to remember that when each device is clocking off the network, it's clocking off of its audio stream input 1. And you really want to make sure that all devices are clocking off the same master device. So the main thing to remember is that if you have two consoles, make sure one of them is set to internal, set the other one to network, and have that second console receive a stream, it could be any stream, from the first console on its audio stream 1. Now, you can still connect up the stage box to all of the other available streams. And then, if you want to bring those in on channels 1 through 8, you can do that with the digital patching. But that's the main thing. You just want to make sure you set up the clock right. So that's the big thing to remember. Give us some news about user layer and UC surface. Yes, this is user layer and UC surface is the #1 requested feature on our answers page. So if you haven't seen the answers page, if you go to personas.com and you go into, I think it's under help or support, you can go to answers, and one of the sections in answers is feature requests for Studio Live. And in there, the #1 requested feature is a user layer for our UC Surface software. So it's not there yet, but we do have it on the list of things to implement. Unfortunately, other than telling you that we are, have it on the list, I can't tell you anything about dates or times and stuff like that. Just not allowed to share that kind of info. So sorry about that. What else we got here? We've got advice on giving customers streaming if they never tried it before. Yeah. So if you've never done streaming before, all I can say is just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. I've been thinking about doing streaming before, and I've been talking about it, but I never actually did it. And then when I found myself sitting at home in my home studio and with time to spare and looking at ways that I could help other people and engage with other people, I ripped the Band-Aid off and just did it. So I will do a full walkthrough of the system that I use. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an expert. I'm not a pro at this. I literally just started doing this. I'm still learning. But basically what I use, so I started off even simpler than the setup that I have now. First, I use an audio interface with a microphone. Being an audio guy, I can't stand just using the built-in microphones that are on your computer or your display or your webcam or something like that. I want better sounding audio. So I've got an interface. I actually use my Studio Live 16R as my interface. It's just plugged in my computer USB, and I've got my microphone. This is a Personas PX1 condenser microphone. And so that's step one for me anyway, because I care about the audio quality. So after that, once you've got audio coming in your computer, the next thing is you need to have a video source. And then most computers, if you have a laptop, have a built-in webcam. And that's actually what I use for my first live streams. I just use the built-in webcam. It's not as high a quality as using the camera on your phone. Most modern phones have a really nice camera on it. So it's not as nice as the camera on your phone, but it gets the job done. And if you're just getting out started streaming, like I said, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just do it. The best way to get in there, just start doing it. If you're nervous about doing it and having people log in and see you being all goofy or having problems or technical issues, then just set up a private stream. Just have one of your friends there available that can watch the private stream to give you tips and watch it and things like that. And just that way you can just do it once. Once you start doing it, then you'll learn what you do and don't like to do and how you want to tweak and things like that to improve it. Now I use an application called OBS. It's a free open source application. It works fairly well on my setup. I haven't had too many problems with it. I had a couple of glitches here and there, but for the most part, it's been working really well. Now that's not the case for everybody. It is an open source software, and depending on your computer, your operating system, how you're planning on using it, your mileage may vary. But there's a lot of options out there. There's another one out there called Streamlabs, which is actually Streamlabs OBS. They use the OBS platform, and it's a free application as well. It's very much more geared towards gamers. Most of all the themes and the setups they have is geared towards people who are live streaming video game playback. But it can very easily be used and adapted to live streams of all sorts. It could actually be really cool for musicians. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot of my musicians friends doing lately is turning to live streaming, and they're actually turning it into a revenue source for themselves. So while they've had gigs canceled and they can't go out and play the gigs, and I'm not talking about like big artists, I know like Pink Floyd, for example, is streaming a new live concert from their catalog every Friday. They're collecting charity donations. That's great. But I'm talking about, my buddy Chris LeBlanc down the street, who is a gigging musician and plays, most nights at different venues and locations around town. And that's his livelihood. That's what he does. And when all the gigs got canceled, he's trying to figure out what he can do now. So he's begun live streaming. He sets up a live stream. He started off just using his iPad and just using that Facebook app on his iPad and just live streaming to Facebook and just asking people to donate. And so he's progressed a little since then, and the Streamlabs software actually has links up to your PayPal accounts or other accounts, and you can set up tip jars where people can tip you right there from the app and from the stream. It's really cool. I see this as a future of a lot of musicians, not only when things get back to normal, or I should say, when things get back to normal, so not just now, but also then. It's a great way of having a revenue source and having a way to expand your reach and your audience. So again, I say just get started. I use OBS. There's other ones out there. I'll walk through how I use OBS in another video. But as I've dug in and learned a little bit more, I'm really seeing all the options out there, and it's pretty cool. And I don't have a lot to work with. I don't have a fancy camera. I don't have a big a DSLR camera. I don't have a webcam. I'm literally just using the camera on my phones. I'm using the audio interface and microphones I already had. Well, I got new microphones because I really love these Presonus PX1s. But really, the only thing I bought to start doing this was a light. I bought a couple lights. Lighting's important. So I got a couple of lights. There's a light here. I've got a light over here. The light over here, actually, I stole a tip from Johnny Geib in one of his videos. It wasn't Johnny Geib. It was Joe Gilder. Stole a tip from Joe Gilder and just bought a little light can at $9 at Home Depot and just shine that over in the corner. If you need to soften it a little bit, just staple or just attach some parchment paper to it or something. And that works. So, start humble, just get going. All right. What else we got here? Trucky's asking more specifically using outboard gear with Series 3 consoles. Using outboard gear with Series 3 consoles. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. Really depends on how are you using it, what you want to do, what the outboard gear is that you're inserting, how you're using it. So if you have any outboard preamps, you could just plug into your outboard preamp, come out of that preamp into whatever outboard gear you have and bring that into the console. So that's one way. You can utilize either the AVB or the USB. I guess USB wouldn't be outboard gear. It'd be, plugins on a computer. You can utilize the AVB, though, to go out to like a stage box. You can also use the built-in inputs and outputs. It takes a little bit of setup to do, depending on what it is you're trying to do. I find using AVB to be the easiest for me personally, if you have a stage box. So there's a variety of different ways you can do this, and it's probably another whole video in and of itself. So I'll take some notes on the videos that you guys are looking for and do some more videos that walk through some of these other things. Because again, it's kind of tricky just trying to explain it without having the gear right here and showing you. I mean, I got the gear, but I'm just not set up to be doing that kind of stuff on the live stream and a Q&A. But when I do it over the AVB with a stage box, essentially, you can insert an AVB send and return on any channel or any mix. So what you do is I've got a microphone plugged into channel 1 of my console. I would then take that channel 1 analog input source, send it out over an AVB stream, have that come out of an output on a stage box, plug that into my outboard gear. and then have the output of that outboard gear going into an input on that stage box. Just a line input, because the outboard gear is most likely going to be a line, in the line input of that. And then I change the source of that channel 1 to network. And then I go into the settings and I set the digital send source to analog. So that way the analog input coming into the back of the console is that mic input, and that's being sent out the AVB. And then what's coming up on the channel is what's inserted over on my stage box. It's the AVB return from the stage box. So you have to make sure you're paying attention to your digital patching. And then you can do the same thing on your mixes. You can send a mix out over AVB, and then you can set that mix input source to be network instead of analog, which means instead of being sourced from its local internal drawing a blank here, local internal DSP bus, it would be sourced from the AVB return. So the internal DSP mix source would be sent out over AVB, and then the AVB return would come in, and that's going to be what's feeding through the channel strip and the fader of the mix itself. And then that can then go out through any of the mix outputs on the back of the console. So that's one way to do it. There's a couple other ways to do it, but I'll make a note of that and do some of that for you guys. All right, what else we got here? Is it possible to record... Oh, just jumped. Is it possible to record audio with PC over AVB? Yes, anything is possible given enough time and money. But yes, it's possible. It's not easy, and it's not the greatest, but it's possible. So there's... trying to remember how many ways there is to do it now. There used to be 2 or 3 different ways. A company called Echo used to make a sound card and a driver that you could buy. I don't think that they make it anymore. They've kind of turned their focus away from pro audio and more to automotive and test rigs and stuff like that. But they used to have a PCIe card and driver that you could get that would give AVB on a PC computer. The problem was it was really expensive. To get the version that did, I think it was like 48 or 64 channels of the driver, was something like $800. So it was kind of cost prohibitive. But their target market, the people who were buying it, were like automotive manufacturers like BMW, who are using it on their manufacturing and test lines and in little labs and stuff. So another way to do it is there's another company called Audio Science. And Audio Science has a driver that will run on PCs. Now, this driver requires a kind of a real-time kernel operating system driver running. So it installs this third-party app, and then it also installs its driver, and it uses up one of the cores on your PC to be able to dedicate to it to make sure you've got low latency and things like that. It's a little tricky to get installed, but it works pretty well. And they have a few AVB hardware devices as well. Again, that company's called Audio Science, so you can check them out. It's not as easy or as elegant as the Mac, but it works. Now, the simplest way to get AVB audio into your Mac is going to be with an RME AVB interface. RME makes AVB interfaces. You can get an AVB interface from RME that will just take AVB inputs and outputs, and it has a USB 3 connection. So you just plug that into your computer, and you're done. And you just use an RME interface. That's going to be the easiest, simplest way to get AVB audio in and out of a PC computer. Just get the RME interface. It'll link up with other AVB devices on the network. They have an AVB controller you can set things up with. And then it's just at that point a USB interface for your computer. It's just that the other side of that USB interface is open to the AVB network in the AVB world. So, let's see. Sharky says, audio and stream sounds great. Awesome. I'm glad. We had some technical difficulties early on. Like I said, I'm not a pro at this. I'm new at doing this streaming stuff. And so I had a little hurdles along the way, as everybody's going to have. But, did some troubleshooting, fixed some problems. Got a new microphone. I'm pretty pumped about that. So thanks. Glad it's working out well. Let's see. Some more implementation plan for QMix UC. EQ, dynamic scribble strips on groups. Some more groups. Yeah, QMix UC. So QMix UC is our app for monitor mix control. And so it allows artists to control the aux mix that's on their Studio Live mixer remotely from their phone. So we debate that, actually. We've been debating that exactly. What do we do? How do we do it? We know it's come up that people want to have more control of some of the DSP processing and things like that. And it's a struggle that we have right now of how much do we open it up if we open it up more than we do. Adding things like more groups, yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's pretty straightforward. That's not a big deal. But opening up a control to things like the DSP processing, like EQ and dynamics, that can be, one, distracting for the artist, overwhelming. It can also create a situation where they can screw something up by accident. And we, even though we can set up things with permissions and rules and stuff like that, we really question whether that's something we want to do in the QMix app. And maybe we just leave that stuff in the UC Surface app. And on that context, one of the ideas is maybe we find a way of bringing the UC Surface app to phone, so people who want to have more in-depth control can have a way of doing that from their phone instead of a tablet with UC Surface. And that way we keep the full mixing functionality in UC Surface and keep the monitor mixing stuff in UC Surface without kind of starting to blur the lines any. But we're still debating it. We're open to suggestions and ideas. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. We're looking for input on that. So let's see. As Milan is implemented to audio manufacturers, will there be a software that makes it easy to patch AVB devices for all compliant brands? Yes. So the software that you use to connect everything up, it's called an AVDEC controller. AVDEC is audio video device enumeration command and control. It's a fancy word for all the stuff that they use to make all the devices speak the same language and show up correctly. And so this the software controller is what allows you to see all the AVB devices on the network and interact with them, whether that be connecting streams with them, changing settings on them, things like that. And so there are a few options out today. I did the one video that's here on my YouTube channel for how to set up your Mac computer as an AVB endpoint. In that video, I used the AVDEC controller that's built into the Mac computer. So Apple has an AVDEC controller built into their operating system. So there's that one that can be used. There's another one called Hive. And Hive is actually part of what is being developed through Milan and through the Avenue Alliance. So Hive is an AVDEC controller that was developed by one of the engineers at, I believe it was L Acoustics. So it's an open source controller. You can go get it off of GitHub. One of our engineers has a YouTube channel where he showed his first video of where and how to get it and download it and install it. And so I can post a link to that video here as well in the comments. So with the Hive controller, it works really well and you can see everything and do stuff. And that's actually the controller that we've begun using in our engineering labs and our QA labs. It works really well. It's got some tools that we can use. If you're not familiar with this kind of software and this kind of routing and tools, it could be overwhelming. There's a lot of things in there. But that's one option. RME has an AVDEC controller. Riedel has an AVDEC controller. And so we're also, with our software, one of the updates that we're doing, I'd mentioned that we're doing some updates for the media clock on our network. Another update that we're doing is we actually have an AVDEC controller built into the mixers itself. And that AVDEC controller right now, we kept limited so that we only expose our own devices. So we can make sure that we set up our own ecosystems in a way that makes sense and keep it uncluttered. But we will be adding the ability in the future update to be able to see and connect third-party devices from the AVDEC controller that's built into our console. So that'll be another option in the future as well. But essentially, whether or not there's like one single controller that everybody uses, probably not. We've seen already that most manufacturers either provide their own controller or have one built into their products so that you can connect up devices. Because it really depends on the use case and who the customer is who's going to be using it, how they want to use it, how simple or how complex they want it, what kind of features they want on it. So you'll see a few different ones out there, but that's what's available now. There's the Mac one, Hive, and if you buy something like an RME interface that's got the AVB, then an RME's got their AVB AVDEC controller as well. So as more and more manufacturers get on board with Milan and AVB, you'll probably see more of them coming out. Whether everybody kind of like converges on a single one is using as the best, we'll see. I think it's too early to tell that right now. All right. Let's see. Would I be able to use a Persona CS18 and RM32AI rack mixer to mix live stream audio via FireWire or AVB? Yes, you'd be able to do it over FireWire, not over AVB. So unfortunately, the AVB that is in the Studio Live AI series products was an AVB that wasn't a fully ratified and implemented version. The vendor that we used for the chip that we had, we were partnering with them to further develop their AVB, and it wasn't completely developed when that vendor got acquired by somebody else, and that new owner shut down operations and continued development on it. So when we take a look at that, unfortunately, we've had our engineers look through it when there was just roadblock after roadblock. We couldn't get it to work. And without the support of that other vendor, we were just out of luck. But you can do it over FireWire. So if you have the CS18AI and you have an RM mixer with those connected, you can use the FireWire on the RM mixer to connect up with the computer and use that basically as your audio interface into your computer. And so in that way, you can connect it up to your computer and use that for live streaming. So you just set the computer up by the rack mixer, plug it in via FireWire, and then use that as the way to feed the audio into your computer to set up and do your live stream. So yes, you can do that via FireWire. Ray, are you delaying your audio in OBS at all for better sync? I'm not. Am I out of sync? Like I said, I'm new at this, so I'm kind of learning. If I'm out of sync, then maybe I do need to delay my audio. I did find when I was playing around with the Streamlabs application that when I used the wireless video from my phone, there was a horrible delay with it. So I decided not to do that. I'm right back in regular OBS right now. I've got a wired connection with my phone. So I don't know if there's a delay or not. I'm not doing anything special right now with it. But I'll take a look at that. If there's like a delay or something, then I'm sure it can be easily fixed. One of the cool things about OBS is you can actually run VST plugins on the mixer that it has in it. I haven't figured out how to do it yet. It's one of the things on my to-do list, but we'll check that out. Pre-post fader control on aux mixes on a per channel basis. Right now it is a per mix basis. Yes, that's right. That is another one of our big feature requests. We do have that on the list of things to do. Again, I can't give any details about how or when or if, but we do hear that a lot, and it is something that is on my list that I want to make sure that we address in the future. That's the great thing about the Series 3 is it's an open platform. Well, it's not an open platform. It's a platform with a lot of things open to more advancement on it. So you'll continue to see more development on this platform. All right. To use plugins from PC as insert, we need different digital send of the network and USB for an easy routing using SO3. Yeah, if you're using a stage box and trying to use plugins and things like that, right now you basically have to route it out and then route it back in on another channel. I'm working with our engineers on some ideas of how to get around that. Not sure what we'll be able to pull off right now, but in the meantime, yeah, if you're using stage boxes or remote I/O via AVB and you want to use plugins inserted over USB, you have to bring the return back on another channel. That would be an advantage of getting a 64-channel mixer. You have more channels to do that on. But yeah, seriously, we're having an open conversation about it, but I don't know what we're going to be able to do about that just yet. All right. Hive, a software-only product. Yes, Hive is just software. It's open source software. You can download it on GitHub. It's just software. It runs on Mac. It runs on PC. It's not an audio driver, so it's not going to get audio in and out of the computer via AVB. It's just an AVB controller. So it'll let you see the AVB devices on the network, connect up to them, and make other changes to them as various manufacturers allow through their products. That's about streaming. Got that part. But what about the customer if they've never tried it before? How to convince them? Tips, maybe another video. Okay, so that was Dale. Was that the question about the FireWire and AVB maybe? Yeah, so yeah, as far as like if they've never tried it before. Yeah, okay. Oh, no, this was about the streaming. Yeah, if they've never tried it before, how to convince them and tips. I think probably the best way is if I do a video dedicated to it. So if I do a video that walks through my setup, I think they'll see just how simple it really is. I mean, that's the thing is like when you see people doing it, and you start searching around, there's so many options out there. It can be overwhelming and you kind of don't know where to begin. And I think if people saw just how simple it really is and how easy it really is, that there'd be more people doing it. So I'll absolutely do a video on that. That's not a problem. We can do that for sure. Nope. Okay. Yeah. No, not out of sync. Good deal. All right. Excellent. Cool. Well, I think I'm caught up on the comments. Thanks everybody for joining us. Saw a few people. We got John Lackner here, Johnny Clark. Awesome. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming out and joining me with this. We've been going on a little bit here, and I do have some more things I need to wrap up for work, and I do have some honeydew projects to do today. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's see. Check out Joe Gilder's live stream video. Yes, absolutely. Actually, it was Joe Gilder's live stream video that taught me how to get going on OBS and get things started. And then I just kind of freewheeled from there and figured some stuff out on my own. It was pretty cool. So with that, guys, I will thank you. Cheers. I appreciate you joining me for another live stream of Beers with the Beard. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to continue to do things like this and post more videos. So keep the comments coming. And like I said at the beginning, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe. Also hit that little alert button because that way, as I post new videos and post new events like live streams and stuff, you guys will get the alerts for them and know that they're happening. I'll also post them over on the Facebook group so that you guys are aware of it. But thank you very much. I very appreciative of your time and coming to join me for this. For some of the things that require more in-depth videos and things like that, I'll just take notes and we'll work on putting together some more videos that deal specifically with some of these questions. In the meantime, these kind of Q&A sessions and AMA sessions are really just for me to kind of riff on things that don't require me running around and doing a bunch of stuff. That stuff I usually have to script out a little bit more, plan about when I'm going to switch to what cameras and things like that. Just to make sure that it's not a snooze fest. But keep those questions and comments coming. Keep those suggestions coming. I appreciate them. And that helps to give me a list of where to focus my efforts to do things that are going to help you guys out. In the meantime, it was great connecting with you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, spread the word. Truckee says, spread the word. Tell your friends that we're over here doing this. Again, really appreciate it. I will hit you guys up in the comments. I will come back and revisit them, see if there's anything I missed, and also take my notes so I can make sure I know what videos to do for you guys. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. And take care, everybody. Bye-bye.